Okay, hello again if you've been here a little bit. If not, welcome. My name is Susan Moeller, and I'm going to be walking you through the features of BuzzSumo. The webinar today, if you'd like to kind of plan, will probably be about 40 minutes, depending on the number of questions that you have. So let's get started. BuzzSumo offers tools to help with a lot of different tasks, but we've divided our content into three main sections: content research, influencers, and monitoring. The intention is that BuzzSumo would help make the tasks of researching, amplifying, and monitoring your content much more simple. And we offer a couple of different ways to do that. I'm going to start with the Trending Now section of our site. Trending is designed to help you find content that is resonating with your audience in close to real time and hopefully identify viral posts before they reach the peak of their popularity. The dashboard initially shows you all content. We're sourcing this from all around the web and refers to content that has come online during the last 24 hours. Now, for each of those content pieces, we're scoring it with a trending score. And we're also showing you the total number of shares the content has gotten and on which of the social networks. The trending score that you see here is 998. Our scores are based on a 0 and on up scale. There's no real firm endpoint, but the higher is definitely the better. For perspective, the highest trending score that I've ever seen was for a piece about Zimbabwean lions that ran after Cecil the lion was killed. It had a trending score of 5.7 thousand. Another high point was for the US arms deal with Iran, and that had a trending score of 3.4 thousand. Now, as I mentioned, each listing also includes the total number of shares the content has gotten. So, using those two numbers as well as the timestamp, we think you'll be able to really get a feel for the types of content that are likely to go viral. Now, we do offer a couple of different filters in the trending section. You can filter to narrower timeframes. So, for example, if you'd like to just see trending content from the pieces that have come online during the last 2, the last 4, 8, or the last 12 hours, you can do that as well. We've also set up some other dashboards that you can use if you're more interested in trending content in news or sports or entertainment or any of the other categories that you see here. These come preloaded into BuzzSumo. But you can also set up your own custom feeds for topics that are of interest to you. To do that, you just click on the plus sign, which you see here, and you have the option to create feeds based on either topics or domains. This one for leadership is an example of a feed that I set up for the topic of leadership, and I'll show you what it looks like so you can get a feel for how to do this. So you'll notice that I pulled in different topics and keywords and search terms related to leadership. I've also included some hashtags from the world of leadership. So if you're going to set up a topical feed, I have discovered that it really does work better if you use a lot of different search terms to get started. You can always go back and edit these if you find you're getting a lot of results you don't need. You can take a particular term out, but to get started, it's good to cast a broad net. Now, the other way that you can set these up is based on domains. So, for example, this is a custom feed that I've set up just for the top 4 or 5 digital newspapers. And using this, I can get a feel for content on the US news. On US news that is trending, that people are really sharing very quickly. Now, with this button, you can toggle back and forth between most shared and trending. So, if you're only interested in content that has gotten the most shares, you can do that, or you can go back to the velocity measurement and get the content that is trending. Now, another option that you have here is to create RSS feeds. So if you're using RSS feeds in your social media curation, maybe with a tool like Feedly or Tailwind, you can generate RSS feeds here, and you can share these feeds. So if you have a topic, maybe like leadership or something else that is of interest to a particular client, you can share feeds with them just by clicking here. We'll give you a shortened link, or you can post them directly into your social media channels. So keep in mind that these options are available. If you do share a feed, the people who get that link don't have to have a subscription to BuzzSumo in order to see the trending dashboard. They'll be able to see it and also have access to any of our other free tools. Now, the most shared section of our site is designed to give you insight into content that is resonating with your audience by showing you the most shared content on a topic from a domain or from a series of domains. So to use this, you would enter a topic like data, and BuzzSumo is going to pull up a list for you of the most shared content on your topic. Now, by default, we're going to filter it to content that has come online during the past year. And as you can see, there's definitely a lot available. This is page one of more than 41,000 pages of content. So we do have a couple of filters that can hopefully make this long list of results a little bit more actionable for you. The first is the option to filter by date. If you click on 24 hours, we'll show you the most shared content that has come online on your topic during the last 24 hours. That can be useful if you just need to keep track of what's happening in your industry right now, or if perhaps you're looking for content that you want to curate into your social media feeds. Now, if you're looking to create a new piece of content, then you might be more interested in longer time frames, like the past 6 months or the past year. Those options are going to give you a feel for the types of content that people have been interested in for a longer period of time. Another option is to filter by a specific range of time. So, if I were going to create a piece of content on the topic of SEO, and I knew that that piece was going to run during the New Year's holiday, I could easily find the pieces of content on my topic that people responded to well last year by using the specific range filter. I would just go back and set the time frame to the week of New Year's last year, and BuzzSumo is going to show me a list of the content from that time period that got the most shares. Now, this first piece is about a Korean pop star. I just ignore it. You can filter it out if you like, but when it's just one extraneous result, I just filter it out with my super mind powers. But the next two pieces are really interesting to me. If you look at this, how Google works and top 10 SEO blogs you should be reading in 2015 were the top most shared articles on my topic during this time frame last year, and they're definitely interesting to me because Google has made some changes this year. I could create an infographic explaining to my audience how Google works. I could also create a blog post about the top 10 SEO blogs to read in 2015. Now, one thing that's great about BuzzSumo, we published a blog post recently that was just talking about how much content really doesn't get any shares or any likes. And in a world that is full of content, beginning to or continuing to pay careful attention to amplifying your content can be really important. So I just want to point out that if you are using the most shared section of the site and you're coming up with some great content ideas that you want to pursue, go ahead and begin thinking about amplifying that content from the beginning. If you click on the View Sharers button, we'll pull you into the influencer section of our site, and you'll be able to find people who shared the specific URL that you are interested in their Twitter feeds. So you can begin to come up with lists of people who might be able to help amplify or distribute your content via Twitter. You can also click on View Backlinks, and we'll pull up a list for you of the backlinks to the specific URL that you're interested in. So you can add those ideas to your amplification strategy. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back to the past year and search again for data. Let me just add that in. I'll show you our other filters. You can filter by language. So if you are working in a language other than English, you can filter for content in that language. You can also limit your results to English if you're getting a lot of different languages in your feed and English is more helpful for you. We can also filter for top level domain country codes. So if you are interested in content about your topic that has been produced in UK websites that end with .uk, we can filter for you that way. Another filtering option that you'll see here is to filter by type of content. The methodology that we're using is we're identifying infographics and videos because they have the word infographic or video in either the title or the URL. Guest posts, giveaways, and interviews we're identifying because they have those words in one of the first paragraphs in the content. So one application here is if you are interested in finding or creating an infographic, you can use BuzzSumo to find the most shared infographics on your topic. If you're working on an influencer strategy and you're looking for people to write a guest post or possibly to be interviewed for content on your site, you can find the most shared guest posts and interviews and come up with some ideas of people to work with based on that. Now that you have the data set filtered the way you want, there are a couple things you can do. You can export your results into a CSV or Excel file and do some more analysis in that format. You can also save your searches. So this is a set of data, guest post, and influencers that I might want to work with, I could just click Save Search and give the name Data Influencers to my search or something similar. The next time I come onto the site, all I need to do is click the Data Influencers Save Search, and I'll have the same information ready to go. You can also create content alerts directly from the Most Shared dashboard. I'll show you a little bit more about content alerts in just a few minutes, but for now, just know that you can create those alerts directly from the Most Shared section of the site. Now, outside of the filters on the left, you can also change the parameters of the search to sort for content that was more popular on an individual network. For example, if you're more interested in content that performed well on LinkedIn, you can filter to see the LinkedIn, the Twitter, the Pinterest, or the Google Plus or Facebook content that got the most social shares. This is helpful if you are typically pushing your content to one network more than another. If your main audience is primarily on one platform, then you can find what works best on that platform. And if you're working for a new client or perhaps you're working on a new topic, you can use our content analysis reports to help determine what social network is being used most for the conversations about your topic. Sometimes people will say, okay, what do I do with this big list of information? Our search results can help you create the best, most effective content for your particular topic area and network. We think that once you know what has worked well in the past, you can take those ideas, those content types, those formulas, or those headlines and improve on them. A couple of ways to do that would be possibly to make the content more in depth. You could update the information, maybe improve the visual element, or even publish a contrary opinion. An example of how to do that, let's do a search for e-learning. BuzzSumo is going to pull up a list that looks like this. And if I'm thinking about repurposing content, I'm really attracted to this piece by Jenna Goudreau. It's from November of last year, so it's almost a year old. It's also something that's accessible to me. I could come up with a list of 25 websites that will make you smarter. I could play around with that headline possibly. I could say 25 websites that will make your kids smarter, maybe for a back to school time frame. Um, and so there are lots of ways that you can take these ideas and work with them to hopefully create content that will really resonate with your audience. Don't forget then that you can also use BuzzSumo to find the same people who have shared or linked to this already popular content and work with them to help amplify or distribute your content across a broader set of networks. Knowing what has worked in the past saves you time in your content creation and definitely makes your content more effective, more attractive, and ultimately more shareable. Now, these results can also save you time in choosing content to share on social media because they provide a helpful rubric for identifying content that is likely to be popular. Also, don't forget to notice the authors for these most shared stories. In many cases, they are influencers. So, what I would do is, scroll down through this list of the most shared content on e-learning and look to see if there are any names that I see more than once. Here's Jenna Goudreau, Linda Flanagan, Daryl Etherington. If I come down here, I see Linda's name again. So if I find her appearing in this list a lot, I might be very curious about the types of things that she writes on this topic. If I click on her name, BuzzSumo is going to pull up a list of Linda's portfolio for me, showing me the range of content that she's published. I can use that to see if she writes for more than one publication, see what her range is, what topics she's most comfortable on, and then possibly tag her as someone that I would want to work with in producing content for my site. Now, you can also use the most shared section of the site to find the most shared content from a domain like BuzzFeed. You can use this to find the most shared content from a subdomain, for multiple domains, or for topics within a domain. Now, a bonus when you're searching for the most shared content from one specific domain is you can toggle away from the content side and click on backlinks. BuzzSumo will create a list of all of the backlinks to that domain. So you can use BuzzSumo to keep track of who's linking to your content. You can use BuzzSumo to keep track of who's linking to a competitor's content and add the people who are linking to a competitor or industry leader into your list of potential backlinks. Now, you can also create alerts for backlinks, which is a great idea. If you set an alert for new links to your site, you can go in and see the blog posts or things that refer to your content. If there are any discussions going on in the comments, you can join in on those. Now, you can do some different types of advanced searches. You'll see the advanced search options listed on a drop down menu underneath the search box in Most Shared. So keep in mind that this is available to you. You can structure your searches in a lot of ways. One possible combination is to combine the name of the site, BuzzFeed, with a topic quiz. If you do that and click search, we're going to pull up a list for you of the most shared quizzes at BuzzFeed.com. Now, I love this search result in a lot of ways because I think it shows you how identifying a successful headline can be useful in keeping your social share numbers high. If you look at this, you're going to see the top 6 of these all have the same basic headline formula: the hardest Friends quiz, hardest SpongeBob quiz, hardest National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation quiz. You'll also see that same formula appearing over and over again in the top 40 results. One thing that's interesting to me about this is the oldest one of these that I've seen is from October of last year, but this one is from July 20th of this year. So I think what this result shows you is that when you've identified a successful content formula, you can use it. And as BuzzFeed has done, they've gotten 8 solid months of high quality shares from one successful content formula. Now, you can also use the most shared section of the site to search for the most shared content from more than one domain at a time. So, if you have some competitors or you have maybe industry leaders whose sites you come to over and over again, you can use BuzzSumo to find their most shared content. You can enter up to 5 domains here, just separate those domains with capital OR, capital OR, and that will pull all of the most shared content from those domains into your search results. If it's something that you find yourself, okay, I check this every day, just go ahead and filter your results and then save the search. The next time you log on, you'll have something that looks like this: Competitors Daily. I can go in every day and find out what my competitors have published. I can see who's sharing their content and I can get a feel for who's linking to it. And I can use their success to help formulate my content strategy. So we do recommend that for any of the areas that you're working in, you set up these types of multiple domain searches for competitors or for industry leaders. And again, if you are new to a content area or you're working for a new client and you're not sure what the leading domains are, our content analysis reports can help you to identify which domains are getting the most traction in terms of social shares. So let's move on to those reports. Content analysis reports are drawn from the same database as the most shared section of our site. So anything that you can search in most shared, you can also search in content analysis. So you can analyze the performance of a specific domain, or you can analyze the performance of a topic, which is what I've done here with content marketing. So you'll see that this is initially a search for content from the past year, but you can do these searches for shorter and shorter periods of time. The first thing we show you is the number of posts that we've analyzed, and then we also give you the average number of shares for this content. So if you're creating content on the topic of content marketing, that can be a really helpful benchmark for you to have. Next, we show you average shares by network. So this is a great way to identify where social conversations are happening if you're working on a new topic. You can also use this to test out the performance of the various search terms that you're trying to rank for. An example of doing that is I was doing some research on content for people who are allergic to gluten. And I did a content analysis report for the term celiac and found that it performed well on Facebook, really only on Facebook. When I did a search for the term gluten free, which is a related term, I found that it performed well on both Facebook and Pinterest. So I knew going into it that if I were going to be creating content for Facebook, I could use either of those terms. If I were going to be creating content for Pinterest, I would want to lean toward the gluten free term. Now, we also give you average shares by content type, and I think this chart is just a gold mine in terms of a great summary of what kinds of content is appealing to your audience. Basically, what we do is we look at all content, and then we do some separate analysis for 6 other types of content. Why posts, how articles, and what posts all have headlines that begin with the words why, how, and what. Videos and infographics we're identifying because they have the word video or infographic in the title or the URL. And list posts have headlines that begin with a numeral. So using this chart, you can see that infographics and lists are appealing most to your audience. If you're creating new content, you're definitely going to want to lean toward those two content formats. If you are boosting or paying for advertising on different posts, you're going to want to pay for the boost or advertise with the types of content that are also likely to increase the organic reach of the content. And if you're posting things to social media, this gives you a great framework to work with in terms of choosing things that are going to appeal to your audience. Content analysis reports also give you some good insight into days of the week when content gets the most shared. For content marketing, most of the shares happen on Twitter on Monday, and they basically stair step down from then. And we also give you some insight into average shares by content length. So if you are writing new content, this is a great place to start to fix in your mind how long your content piece needs to be. For content marketing, the most popular length in terms of social shares is 2 to 3,000 words. I think that's really great to know. If you have a lot of information, enough to write a super long post, you might want to go ahead and break that up into two separate posts because you know that combining them is not necessarily going to bring you any more social shares. Now, content analysis reports also include an analysis of the domains that get the most social shares for your topic. This is a great place to start if you're working for a new client or on a new topic and you're just not sure what are the leading domains for this topic. This chart can show you. For content marketing, the most popular domains in terms of social shares are Blog at HubSpot, Content Marketing Institute, Copyblogger, and jeffbullas.com. So if I would like, I can go back to a most shared search. I can enter those domains and get a feel for the most popular content from the most popular sites on my topic. These reports also include some other topics related to content marketing, and they list out for you the top pieces of content for your topic. Now, these reports can also be exported, but the export that is available here is to a PDF or PNG file. You can also print or get different kinds of downloads for various image files from these charts. I think that's a great feature. Sometimes you just need to communicate with someone, another stakeholder about your content strategy, and having a chart that very quickly tells them why you're focusing on infographics and Twitter is great. They'll be able to know what you're doing. This can also be really helpful in terms of client reporting. The exports are not branded, so if you need a quick snapshot to show clients, you can create that here. I've clicked over now to domain comparison reports, and you'll notice that these charts look very similar to the content analysis reports, but you can do domain comparison reports and line up the performance of two domains side by side. You can also use these to analyze the performance of two domains on a specific topic. So for instance, if you wanted to do moz.com pay-per-click, hubspot.com pay-per-click, you could do something like that. You can compare average shares, and you can also compare average shares by network. If this is your domain on the left and you notice that your competitor is performing substantially better than you on a network like Twitter, you can go back to a most shared search, enter the domain, and then filter the content to see what content they're creating is getting so many shares on Twitter. And then you can use that to inform your content strategy. You can do something similar with comparisons of content type. If your list posts are performing really well, but you notice that your competitor is doing great with their infographics, you can go back to a most shared search, enter your competitor's domain name, and then sort to see the content type infographic and really get a feel for the types of infographics that they're creating that are resonating with your audience. Another feature that is available at the agency level is the option to do a search for top authors. Now, we have an entire section of our site that is devoted to finding influencers on Twitter, but top author reports are a great way to find people whose published content with their byline is getting the most shares. Top author reports can show you the total number of shares, average shares, and also give you a feel for the number of articles these people have published. You can find their Twitter contact information, and you can also click on View All Content and see their portfolio. You can use these as well if you're a publisher. You can enter your domain and find out which of your authors has content that is getting shared most. I want to show you now our Facebook Analyzer. The Facebook Analyzer is a different type of tool. The main difference between the Facebook Analyzer and the rest of BuzzSumo is that within this part of the tool, you can search for content based on a topic or a hashtag and discover not only things that begin as a URL, like a blog post that's being shared, but you can also get a feel for the best performing content that begins at the post level within Facebook. So, like I said, you can search by a topic like content marketing. I'm going to go ahead and use a language filter and get this into results that are in English that I can read. You can also use this to search for hashtags. So you can track and see which types of posts on hashtags are performing best. We pull up the content and show you the total number of interactions it's gotten. We also show you the number of shares, the number of likes, and the number of comments the content has gotten. You can toggle to a list view, and if one of those metrics is more important to you than the others, you can filter to see content that has gotten the most comments, posts that have gotten the most shares, or you can go back and just see posts that have gotten the highest number of interactions. We can also do an analysis of these posts for you. So using this, you can see that on content marketing, the most popular post type is an image, and the most popular post length is 300 or more characters. The most popular day and time for posting are Monday at 8 a.m., and that's UTC time. There's a chart toward the bottom of these analysis reports that will allow you to convert the time to your local time. We break out average engagement per post type and character range so you can get a feel for the types of length that creates different types of engagement. We show you posts per third party tool and how that impacts your engagement. And then this is the chart where you can click to see the time posted and average engagement. Now, you can also apply some different filters here. So, if you have discovered that the most popular type of post on your topic is an image, you can filter just to see the most popular images for your topic. You can also analyze performance of Facebook pages. So, if you are interested, for example, in seeing the content or the posts from the New York Times Facebook page that have gotten the most interactions, you can do that within BuzzSumo. Some of these insights are similar to what you would get if you were an admin on the page, but this tool allows you to get those insights for pages that might be from competitors or others where you don't have the admin insights available to you. You can do analysis that will show you the most popular type of post and also the rank of the page in its category. These are the Facebook categories that you select when you set up a page. All right, I want to switch over to the monitoring section of our site now. Monitoring is just a little bit different than the content research tools. In content research, for example, if you're searching for most shared content, BuzzSumo is looking for your search term in either the title or topic of the content. In the monitoring section of the site, though, we are looking for mentions of your search term in the title, topic, or text of the article. So if you would like to do some research and perhaps find every mention of a search term, setting up a content alert and using the monitoring side of our site is a great way to do it. The other difference here is that in the most shared section of the site, we're really looking at content that has been shared socially. In the monitoring section of the site, we remove that requirement and look for content regardless of the number of times it's been shared. There are a couple of different types of alerts that you can set. The first three that I'm going to talk about are all search term based: brand mentions, competitor mentions, and keywords. Those can be used to search for mentions of your brand, mentions of your competitor's brand, or mention of keywords in your industry. You can set those up by just entering your brand name. You can filter the results by specifying other keywords that need to be included or keywords that should not be included. We also give you the option to decide if you would like to have these alerts delivered to you via email. So if you just want to get an email every time your brand is mentioned, we can do that for you here in the monitoring section of the site. Once you've created an alert, so this is an example of an alert for BuzzSumo, we'll create a chart for you that helps you to track how many times your brand is being mentioned over the period of time that your alert has run. So the longer these are set up, the more historical data we can provide for for you. You can also use this to see where your brand is being mentioned. So you can see who's mentioning your brand. You could also set up an alert and find who's mentioning your competitor's brand. You can also pull in a different brand name. For example, we'll pull one in for HubSpot, and we'll go ahead and pull one in for CrowdTangle, and we'll see the number of mentions of those brands. BuzzSumo has gotten more mentions, although we are seeing here that we've gone down a little bit over the last 14 days. Now, the other types of alerts that you can set are backlinks alerts, and those will let you know whenever there's a new backlink to your site. In the monitoring section, you can see a graph that will help you to keep track of how many links your site is gaining, and you can then compare that to links that other sites are gaining as well. You can also create alerts for content that's being created at a domain, and you can create alerts for new publications that an author is publishing. The reason that might be helpful is if you're working on an influencer strategy and you've identified someone who you think would be a great fit to help amplify your content, one of the best first steps you can take is really to begin to be involved in their content. So if you set an alert, you'll find out when they publish something new. You can go in and be one of the first people to comment on their content. You can share it, things like that. Now, I wanted to just go over a little bit of how you can use the influencers section of our site. Influencers helps you to identify people who are influencers on your topic who have an interest in your topic. So, to do these searches, you would begin by entering your topic, and BuzzSumo is going to create a list of people on Twitter who we think have some relevancy for the topic that you're interested in. The way we do that is we look at their Twitter bio, we look at the list they've been added to, and to an extent, we're looking at their tweets and comparing that information to lists of keywords. When you do a search like this, we're going to sort the information by default by relevancy, and that just means that we think that there's a lot of overlap between your topic and this particular person. We do, though, give you a lot of information that you can use to helpfully get to know these influencers and make really good decisions about possibly working with them as someone to help amplify your content. So, there are a couple of measures that you can use here to determine actually how influential someone is. Page authority and domain authority are both provided by Moz. You can read a little bit more about their process there. It's basically a 0 to 100 scale, with 100 being the highest, and it's designed to help you get a feel for how likely a site is to rank highly in search engines. We apply that measurement to the domains that are listed with the Twitter account. We also give you the number of followers these influencers have and the average number of retweets they get. We think average retweets is a really helpful metric because it helps you to determine if this person has an audience who is engaged with their content. If people are retweeting their stuff, it's one indicator that people are reading what they say and they're acting on that information. Retweet and reply ratio are a little bit different. I like to think of these as responsiveness indicators. The retweet ratio is the percentage of each user's tweets that are retweets from other sources, and the reply ratio is the percentage of each user's tweets that are replies to other people. So, hopefully, with the retweet and reply ratio, you can get a feel for whether or not this influencer is someone who is interested in other people's content and might be willing to interact with it and possibly help amplify it. If you do think that someone is a good fit for your content, you can go ahead and click on View Links Shared, and we will pull up a list for you of all the links that they've shared. That's a great way of really getting a feel for the types of content that this person is interested in. You can also click on Analyze Links, and BuzzSumo will create a chart like this. It shows you at a glance where they're pulling their content from. So, this is actually a really great chart in terms of influencer outreach. It shows you that AJ is pulling content from a lot of different sources. Sometimes you'll do these and you'll find one very big blue blob. And so at that point, you know that really they're only amplifying content that comes from one place. You can begin a conversation with various influencers here. You can tweet to them. You can add influencers to Twitter lists. If you choose Add to List, those lists are going to be housed at Twitter with whatever account you're using with BuzzSumo. You can also save searches here in influencers, and we give you the option to filter by type of influencer. So if you're looking for someone on Twitter who also is a blogger, you could filter by blogger. You can filter by journalist, company, and just influencers alone. We also give you the option to ignore broadcasters and to filter by location. The location filter is based on any location information that people include in their Twitter bio. So if someone identifies that they live in New York, London, Paris, we can find that for you. Another way that you can use the influencer section of the site is to search for people by company. So if you'd like to find someone who's working for Moz, you can just enter at Moz in the influencer search, and we'll pull up a list for you of everyone who has at Moz in their Twitter bio. So that's an overview of BuzzSumo. I'm going to check and see if there are any questions here. If you do have a question, just go ahead and type it into the box now. I'd be happy to answer them. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can reach me at susan@buzzsumo.com. On Twitter, I'm at Susan C. Moeller, and you can also just tweet directly to BuzzSumo on Twitter at BuzzSumo. All right, so let me give you guys a second to see if you have any questions.